What up? What up? Legendary Talks, episode 74, I think. We have Eric Archibald. Very excited to chat with him. He is an amazing legendary stylist. People have been all day on my Instagram saying two icons talking, two legends talking. Also, did anybody see Cassidy's IG last night? Or his pass the mic thing. That was so amazing. I'm like still pretty hyped on that. I just really Eric's on right now. I just really like when people, very passionately support culture the way he did, and I was blown away. And I hope you all saw it. So don't say I didn't tell you. I don't know what the heck I'm wearing, by the way. I dressed up for Eric. Hi, Eric.
Hi, I love your outfit. How are you?
First of all, I dressed up for you. You know that. I was kind of adding more things and things. So, How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great.
Are you in New York?
I'm in New York, yes.
So I was just saying, right as you were joining, on my Instagram, all these people were reposting it saying, two icons talking, legend and legend, all these things. So as you know, because you've seen a few of these, saw T and a couple other people, that it's Legendary Talks. Ooh, Damian Smith just got on. I texted him. So I, have been interviewed. This is my 75th episode, and I've been interviewing people that have been really important to culture. And some I keep saying well-known, some not so well-known, but it doesn't matter because every single person has been very instrumental to culture and, really shaping culture. So I had DJ Cassidy on Monday, and you saw the thing you did yesterday. So, and I think that you are someone that has been so important to culture, basically. So.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And so I would like you to tell us a little of your resume before we start. So you are this amazing, legendary stylist. What's your title? Creative director, or what's your current title?
I'm creative director, costume designer, and still styling. But
for those people that don't know, give us a little bit of your resume.
When I first started out in the industry, assisting June Ambrose in the early 90s, I worked with her at Cross Colors and Kalkanai. And then her and I both went on working a lot with Hype Williams, styling Missy Elliott, Busta Rhymes, Sean P. Diddy Combs, the Backstreet Boys, R. Kelly, Babyface and Shalimar, and the list goes on and on. A-Marie. And
no, so, I know. I'm like, I know your resume is longer than, this block, but I just want you to, I kind of like when people, a part of the charm of the show is that people don't get to really reminisce a lot. And this is really a good exercise for the guests as well, because they really get to go back and dissect, their different chapters of their life. So I enjoy people doing that as well. So I like when people tell their own resume, basically. So.
Right. Okay.
So let's start from the beginning. Are you from Antigua? Where are you from?
I was born in Antigua, yes.
Yeah, so I thought. And how long were you there?
I left Antigua when I was 12 years old for the Virgin Islands.
Oh, okay, good.
And I went
I can't hear you that well. Is it maybe a little louder?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better.
I left Antigua when I was 12 years, moved to the Virgin Islands, went there for junior high school, then moved to New York in 85 for high school, where my life became larger than life, and went to Andrew Jackson High School. After high school, I had all intention of going to Fashion Institute, FIT. That never happened. I got caught up in the ballroom scene and going to balls. I'm a part of the House of Milan. And I started going to drag balls, and I walked balls, and my category was fashion and big boys runway. And at the same time, my very dear friend of mine, Michael Kenneth Williams, introduced me to June Ambrose. And she worked at Cross Colors at that time, and June and I became really great friends, and we started styling all these artists on Jive Records. And pretty much that's how my career started. We worked in the marketing department at Cross Colors and Kalkanai, traveling to different universities and colleges, putting on fashion shows for Cross Colors and Kalkanai, and loaning clothes to bands like TLC. We did an ad with Sean P. Diddy Combs. We shot Tupac sitting on a basketball rim back in the day. And
okay, I'm gonna stop you. You're giving too much information at once. You're like rolling it over. Sidebar, I knew none of that. I didn't know you were from ballroom. I didn't know that you put the cross colors. Hold on, I want to take it like way back first because you're saying too much information. So like at Tupac, I had to stop you. I'm like, that's gotta stop. Okay, so I want to talk more about the very beginning because I think those are really important years. Like I was saying, when people are like 9, 10, 11, 12, those are very shaping years for who people become as creative adults. So what do you think the main influence was from, like, let's say Antigua for you? What did you influence? What was the main influence you looked from there for you?
Oh, really and truly, the main influence was my mom and my grandmother. My mom and grandmother were both seamstresses, and my dad worked for the airline, Eastern and Pan Am Airline, and he was sort of an engineer. He was the one who fueled the planes, and he was very sharp in the way he dressed, and he always practiced just like clean, sharp. And my mom was traveling back and forth to the Virgin Islands before we even traveled at a young age, and it was always very important that time to dress really well. You know, so I would stay up late at night, and my mom would come in and I would always see what they were wearing, and it was so important to me, you know, what they were wearing. And of course, going to church with my grandma is very important that we all look clean and just look really sleek. I watched my grandmother doing everything, even putting on her pantyhose at the time. You know, I was always so intrigued with what they were wearing.
Wow, interesting. So, you know, I guess besides your immediate family, what were the other style influences from, like, besides your family? Were there any other style influences from Antigua?
Really and truly, a lot of my style influence came from going to Carnival, really and truly, you know. As a young boy, we would go, you know, Antigua celebrate Carnival every year at the end of August, and it's the emancipation of slavery, you know. And my mom would always take us, but she would never really let us stand too close to the side of the road. So we'd stand on a hill. So I would see these costumes moving, and I was like, who the hell are moving these costumes, you know? So I was always intrigued with movement, you know, in fashion and clothing. And from a very young age, I was like, oh, I want to do that. And sadly enough, Carnival was just ended on Tuesday, and there was no Carnival, of course, because of the pandemic. And you know, I go every year with a whole bunch of my friends. So
I've never been. I want to go so bad. First of all, I'm always trying to get Carnival costumes for myself for, like, regular. You know, I'm always trying to get a Carnival costume.
Right. Well, you know,
just
call me. We have it all.
I know,
that
right?
was one of my early influence. Yeah.
That's great too. Carnival's influence on me, like, has been for many years. I've never been. So what fashion magazines were you exposed to, like, as a young person? Was it like, you know, which ones?
It was GQ and Vogue, of course. I remember one time growing up in Queens, I tried ordering GQ and it never showed up. I'm still waiting for it in the mail. Yeah, but GQ and Vogue, you know, I always go to a newsstand on 42nd Street. There was a newsstand on 42nd Street I went to look at different fashions.
And then, what's the first fashion moment you ever remember, like, in life? Whether it be like Michael Jackson Beat It or whatever. What is that one first moment that you really, like, is the first moment you ever remember? It could be Diana Ross, whatever, you know.
First of all, I love Diana Ross. I love Michael Jackson. I love Whitney Houston. I would glue myself to the front of the TV and watch music videos on MTV. I would be in the house singing to Whitney Houston. That song, I can't remember the song, but when she walked on stage,
The Greatest Love of All.
Yes, exactly. And my brothers would always go, "Shut up," you know. But that was one of the moments, you know. But really and truly, what really came out to me is it was the Paris is Burning Ball in 1980. In 1989.
You were there?
Yes, I was there. I was told the ball started at 5 o'clock, so I showed up at 4:30. The ball never started until 9 o'clock at night, and I saw Pat Fields for the first time in, like, this green shielding that really blew me away, and that was one of the first moments for me.
I think, sidebar, it's like unrelated. I think Pat Fields really doesn't get the credit she deserves. She got credit once she did Sex and the City, but what she had done for New York for all those many years, I don't think she gets a lot of credit for that, you know?
She does not. We would always hang at her stores at the weekend, me and all, because we consider ourselves club kids at that time.
Yeah.
So we would always go to her store and hang out on Saturdays and Fridays. And on Halloween, we would just hang out in front of her stores and just have the best time.
I visited New York 6 months before I moved there, and I went to Pat Fields and bought, like, the first thing I bought from New York was at Pat Fields, ever.
Oh, you did? Yes, we would shop there.
Actually, my first designer piece I ever bought was Gaultier from Century 21. What's the first designer piece you ever bought?
I fell in love with Gaultier at the balls also because there was this category, labels, and more labels, and two amazing gentlemen came out in the Gaultier Cage collection. Of course, I went home and researched it, and I was like, Gaultier is my favorite. And up to this day, my brothers still call me Jean Paul because I was running around the house screaming, Jean Paul, Jean Paul, Jean Paul. And another thing, my dad would always let me watch Style with Elsa Clench on Saturday mornings.
Yep.
Came on at noon. So I would always look at the reviews on what was happening in Paris.
Did you come to New York with your family, or you came on your own?
My dad and sister moved here. It's 8 of us, so
Got it.
so I came. I was one of the last ones to come with my brother Neil.
Got it. And who's the first black model you ever remember?
Really and truly, who really resonated to me was Leoimy all the time.
Okay, it's funny because I'm sorry to cut you off. It's funny, everyone says that, and it's weird because maybe it's our generation, but no one remembers any black. No one remembers like you remember Yvonne or Beverly Johnson. Something about Leoimy really resonated to everybody I've asked. So interesting, right?
As West Indians, we were always me and my friends always drew to Leoimy because I grew up with a lot of West Indian friends, Guyanese friends, so we were like, Leoimy, we love Leoimy. She's so bad. She's so fierce.
Well, Leoimy was total rock star from the jump. She was like a rock star, she was like wild and, speaking her mind at 20 years old. So,
Exactly.
And, okay, so is there anyone that you looked up to at the time, whether it be I don't know, Andre Leon Talley, or is there anyone that you kind of said, I would like to, envision myself modeling myself after them, or, kind of before you were really in the business either?
Andre Leon Talley, I read his memoirs. I read Diana Vreeland memoirs, so I looked up to Andre Leon Talley and where he came from. But at the time when our industry was really getting the notoriety that it deserved, it was really people like Emil Wilbekin at Vibe magazine. Who really, my dearest friend Roger McKenzie was the fashion editor of Source magazine. Of course, I spent many years with June Ambrose, and we toiled together. And
well, those years were so electric. To me, it was like hip hop and fashion were exploding together at that time. And it was such an amazing time to be in real time. I think we were all doing it in real time. And Emil, I had Emil on here. Emil is so important to that moment. With Vibe and what he was doing with Vibe. It's so just important period to the whole history of hip hop and fashion. So
he was excellent and instrumental into what he did, and his editorials I was always intrigued and inspired by what he did. Yeah,
me too. I lived in Detroit still, kind of moved in the middle of Vibe, then I moved to New York, and I couldn't wait for the next issue of Vibe to come out. I was would I go look every day on the newsstand and be is the new one out yet? Who's on the cover,
Right.
So you didn't study fashion basically at all, right?
I'm sorry?
I said you did not study fashion, right? You didn't go to any fashion school or anything?
I did not, no.
Because people always ask me, I'm there's no party school. I didn't go to how to do party school. You just learn. You just figure it out,
I had the best hands-on experience because I was a part of an industry that was growing, so we were learning as we were going along. It's when Hype Williams said he wanted Missy Elliott in an inflated suit, we got some patent leather fabric together. I showed him the fabric one day on set. He was shooting in Holland. And he was like, yeah, that's the fabric. And I asked Francis Hendy, a West Indian designer, to pretty much put it together. And myself and June and Andrew at the time pretty much walked Francis through it and got it done.
So first of all, that in itself is an iconic moment in history. So kind of rewind a little bit. So you found the fabric with the other person, and so was it Missy's idea? How did they even come about?
It was Hype Williams' idea. when we first met Missy at Electro Records, Hype was like, I want you guys to go meet this new artist. Her name is Missy Elliott. And we went over to Electro Records. I had no idea what we were going to do, what he wanted to do, what his idea was. And then June and I met with him. He told us he wanted to put her in a Michelin Man suit, you know? And I was saying at the time in my mind, I remember vaguely saying, what the hell does he want her to be? You know, I couldn't really draw the lines together. But I found the fabric and we showed him. He said he okayed the fabric, and we asked Francis Hendy. He lived in Brooklyn at the time before he moved to Manhattan, and he made the suit. And we showed up on set.
I'm sorry. Did you say Francis Henry?
Francis Hendy.
Oh, Hendy. Okay, sorry, my bad.
Yeah. He's a
lot of times too. Oh, sorry. Go. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go.
No, you go.
So a lot, because Atiba was on here, I think last week you saw it, and he was saying too that like when he was doing Khalees, that she was so out there, he wasn't really getting it a lot of times. And I think that's kind of where the brilliance comes. When like it's kind of like things that you're kind of like not uncomfortable with, but things that with the Michelin suit, you're kind of like, what is this? And it ends up being this iconic thing like that's in history, So I think sometimes that's really where art is created. In those moments,
Exactly. You're actually living these moments, and you don't realize these moments are going to become iconic. Because honestly, living in the moment, you're nervous, you're scared, you're wondering if it's going to work out. Pretty much, there's a video on YouTube of us taking Missy to the gas station and bringing her back. There was a photo in Vibe magazine with me using a bicycle pump and pumping her up, me peeking out.
That's insane.
I remember, the whole creative for all the costumes pretty much happened in June's car.
But that's how it is. I agree with you. Like I've done some things that are kind of like have gone on to take a life of their own. And when you're doing it, you don't think that at all. You're literally doing it and you're working. And yes, you're working hard. So you're like kind of in it and focused. And then like it takes years later for you to realize this was like an amazing moment. So it happens all the time to me too. I'm like, wait, when I look back at photos from 10 years ago, I'm like, what? But that's how real creativity comes. You're saying in June's car, I feel like that just means it's real. That it's authentic and real then, happening that way. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. We didn't know Go ahead.
Explain to us a bit about what the Mod Squad is, because Atiba mentioned it, everyone keeps mentioning it, and maybe some people don't know. So.
Well, it's an old school TV show called The Mod Squad, and pretty much June came up with the name because all of us, we were just so close friends. We loved fashion together. And pretty much, a lot of people may not know this, but I pretty much took all my friends and said, you're going to be a part of this, I was pretty much the guy who hired Roger, Atiba, Cleto, Andrew, Andre Austin he already knew June, so he worked with her, but it pretty much myself, June, and Andre Austin, and Roger and Andrew and Cleto came later, pretty much called ourselves the Mod Squad,
And so, I was on the scene in New York at that time, and the Mod Squad was like this June and her entourage of like fierce black boys that like always were like, like this, basically done head to toe with like furs and like coming to like an event or something. And it was kind of this amazing June in the cavalcade of like fierce black men, boys basically, not even men, boys. And like, it was really a moment in time. And also you guys were doing all the like hottest styling job at the same time, but you also were very on the scene in a great way,
Yes.
But June is another one. Like June is such a visionary and such a, I don't think June gets a lot of credit. Bevy and June, I don't think they get the credit for being, Puffy, I think Puffy doesn't get credit for being a visionary either. Puffy's a visionary. He gets credit for being a businessman, but not a visionary.
Right, but Puffy, I'll have is kind of one of my mentors because one afternoon I had a meeting with him because he wanted me to do this performance with him and Sablin Glover and Lil Kim. So we were doing this whole 1930s thing.
I remember it. I remember that performance.
I walked into his office in this Gucci green pony coat, and up to this day he still calls me Gucci, But just his passion for this industry and his artistry and making us believe that we can do anything and become anything is what, when you meet with Puffy, he's going like, he wants the best shit, you can do it, he wants the hottest shit. And that's how I grew up. I remember 1989, the Bad Boy reunion, the Bad Boy tour. We started in Albany, and was getting him changed backstage, and it was quick change, and it was pyros going off, and I was nervous as shit. He was like, "Calm the fuck down. You're not getting on stage. I am. I'll put my pants and jacket on." And the next day I quit. He was like, "You want to quit on me?" I was like, "Yes, it's too much." But I learned so much from him.
Good. Everyone says that. Everyone that's worked with him has said. I never worked with him, but I would have worked a couple of events, not directly with him. But everyone says working with him, like you end up being like a better person and inspiring your own self because he's so inspiring. Everyone gets personally inspired to do better themselves from him. You mean? I've heard that a lot.
Right. As recently as last 2 years ago when he had the show The Four, and he called me, I was in Atlanta, and he was like, "Oh, you want to do these costumes for the show?" I'm like, "But I'm not in the union." He was like, "Get in the union," So Puffy's pretty much inspirational of getting me into the union and becoming a costume designer. And it was my first job as a costume designer, was doing The Four for him. Yeah.
I love that show. I went several times. I saw you.
Yes.
I love that show. Shout out to Sharia J. Okay, so what was the very first nightclub you went to in New York City?
I'm sorry?
The very first nightclub you went to in New York City?
We would go to this club on 21st Street called, club called Midtown 43 and 43rd Street in 1986. My first gay club.
And what's the scene? Explain the scene to me.
It was just a community of Black gay men like myself, which I've never seen, but you don't get in the island. I was just like in total awe that I can have a place where I can be free and hang out. And there was a show every Sunday night called The More Renee Show. It was a drag review show. And More Renee, of course, years later, her and I became really great friends. And in that club, there was Dorian Corey, there was Paris, and then there was Peppa LaBeija, all hanging out.
Wow.
So that was the first gay club, and I was like, woof.
All icons, right?
Yeah.
What was your very first styling job?
R. Kelly video. It was R. Kelly Slow Dance. June Ambrose came to my house and got all these amazing clothes that I had because I was walking the ball, so I had the best clothes. And the next day she said to me, "Do you want to come to set?" And I was like, "Of course I want to come to set." I didn't know what I was getting into, but I knew at that day and that time, this is what I wanted to do. This was going to be my love, and I stayed with her for 8 years and learned everything I can learn. And and here I am still today, still doing it. People, because we've always. What are you drinking, by the way? I'm drinking tequila and soda. My drink.
Belvedere and soda. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers from coast to coast. People for like almost 2 decades have been coming to my house to borrow my clothes for shoots. That's not fun for me, I would say. Lending clothes to my friends for shoots is not fun for me. I would say that. So when was your first big job?
My first big job? Oh, I had many. Well, my first big job was really Puffy, It was Puffy.
You're on your own, right?
Yeah, I was on my own. It was Puffy, Lil' Kim, and Sabian Glover. Those were my first big jobs,
I remember that exact performance. It was spectacular, by the way.
Yeah, and exactly. And then I did the Isley Brothers with Garcelle Bouvier, that was great. And then I went on to work on an R. Kelly tour, and I worked with En Vogue, and and the list goes on, and leading all the way up to like Jennifer Hudson,
When was the moment you realized, wow, I'm successful at styling?
Yesterday.
So humble.
Really and truly, I know I've done good in this industry, but what's most important for me is to see my friends thriving, to see my nephew styling Future, the baby, and all this other stuff, and just seeing him busy, to see my friend Roger doing his thing, to see my friend Gerard just killing it. I mean, success comes really, it comes to me when I see everyone's doing well.
Oh, that's amazing. That's very,
it was always important for me that my friends can travel with me and do things with me and just like be a part of it, because it's never good when you're just like feeling like you're doing stuff on your own.
That's great. That's really sweet. I love that. When like Law and Colin and all these stylists are doing so well, I love seeing them too, because it's like their time at the moment, and I love what they're doing. I'm so proud of them too. We support them. We salute them. What is your proudest moment, you think, so far?
My proudest moment.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to be fashion. Could be like in life,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know.
First of all, it's to know that my mom and dad did well, and to know that they went home to the Lord, being proud of me. That's my proudest moment. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I thought I have a tough family to live up to of pilots and nurses. So for a long time, they were like, "What do you do again?"
They're like, do you put shirts on people? What?
I remember, and I remember years I would go home and say, "I'm doing this and I'm doing that," and they would go, you're lying." I'm like, so I basically stopped telling them what I was doing, and they finally caught on. I was doing what I said I was doing. So that to me means the world to me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, like I always say too, try explaining what I do to my parents. They're like, "What? You let people in a nightclub and they pay you?" I'm like, in the 2000s, like, what are you talking about? And then same thing, I would tell my mom, "Oh, mom, Beyonce came to my party last night," and then they don't believe you. They don't believe you. I'm like, "She really came. She came." I'm like,
yeah,
funny.
They don't believe you. Yeah.
And then what's your first memory of me? When do you first remember me? First memory.
Well, my first real memory of you is meeting you. I'm sure, I know I met you before, I don't remember where, but I remember we really communicating at Khalees's house.
Oh, yeah.
Khalees had the best dinner parties, and then somehow, somewhere, we would always end up at some nightclub, of course, spearheaded by you, But just being in the house, eating the best food, the coolest kids, we had the best clothes, and we were just down and having a good time with Khalees and Nas, And
yeah, that was a fun time. And we used to go there after the club a lot too, because they lived by Lotus and all those clubs. We used to go after too. And she'd always be like, or even the dinner party, she'd be like, "I'm having a dinner party tonight, invite 20 people. I'm like, "Who are you inviting?" She goes, "No one, invite 20 people. I'm like, "How rude, you're not inviting anyone, I have to invite everybody?" You mean?
Exactly.
But yeah, those were some fun, and they were really fun and curated. You're right. She was, as always, ahead of her time,
Exactly. And then another moment was the party at Marquee when you came in on the horse.
Yeah, the horse right there.
It was legendary.
I was like, listen, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? There's only one way to do it. Do it all or don't do it. That's how I think. You mean? So.
Yeah.
People really did gag. They were gagging, literally, when I came in on the horse. For real.
I was gagging. I was like, work.
Yeah. So what are some legendary parties that you remember? Because, when you were, let's say, with June and kind of like transitioning to your own, that was like the heyday of New York City partying, Puffy, Little Kim, all these things. That was such an electric time in New York City, truly an amazing time for hip hop and New York City. What are some legendary, you remember Sean John after parties, Baby Fat parties, all that stuff was happening. They were all amazing. What are a couple legendary parties that you remember?
First of all, Junior Vasquez down on 27th Street. I would get up at 5 a.m. in the morning, put on my best Gautier or Claude Montana. My friend David would pull up. We both lived in the Bronx. And we would go down, and you had to look good for the doorman. And we would go dance and for hours and hours and hours, And, of course, Puffy's White Party in the Hamptons was legendary. It was sick. Of course, there's 30th birthday party at Cipriani's downtown.
Cipriani, yeah.
It was so sick. There were so many great parties. The one party I regret not going to was the party in Marrakesh. He invited me, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not going."
Which one?
His birthday party in Marrakesh.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, "I'm not going." I was like, but yeah. I mean, really, for me, it was like I love nightlife because pretty much what I got out of nightlife was inspiration.
Yep.
Club kids. I literally would get an inspiration and go back to June and say, "Girl, we have to do this." Like the Missy Elliott She's a Bitch video came from this book because, of course, I was tweaking on something and found this S&M book. And I was like, this is what we're doing for Missy. And pretty much, I would not only go to the club just to party or get high in the moment, but I was so inspired by fashion. I see Dolce & Gabbana pretty much birthed from the nightlife on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, there's also you know, like a street style people call it, but like in the clubs is, you know what it is? It's authenticity in the club with it. If, you know, people, you could be wearing a ripped t-shirt, but you're wearing it in such a chic, amazing way. You know, saying that there's authenticity in the clubs, I think. And that means tons of creativity. My parties here in LA, my door philosophy is the weirder the better. If they have blue hair, then the weirder the better, basically. That's my philosophy. It's always been my philosophy, really. But, you know, like...
Yeah,
you know.
of course, with your outfits, I was like, oh my God, there's a lot of time, you know? A lot of editing, and you did it every time.
Second nature to me. Like Jack Mizrahi says, girl, you don't give a look, you give a look, head to head. He's like a look down every time I see you.
Exactly.
You know, so. I'm like, that's what I do. He goes, look. I love Jack. He's amazing. So who would be your dream client, whether it be like Cartier or a celebrity or something? Who would be your dream client that you have not worked with? Could be Diana Ross. Could be someone that's already passed away. Who would your dream client, you think?
I would love to work with Diana Ross, of course. But I love Rihanna. I think she's so fresh and just so badass. Seeing her on the cover of Bazaar this month, it's like, yeah, and plus she's an island girl. I rep for the island.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There's something too about her. It's not even her style. It's her authenticity that I think resonates so much in the way she wears clothes. To me, that's what it is. You mean, like something about her is very just.
It's
real.
So natural and it's so organic and it's so fierce at the same time.
Yep, I agree with all that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And you were saying earlier too that, like, you know, Michael, Diana, Whitney, those were really influential people for you, and they were to me as well, because I think that's where fashion was at the time. It was on these superstars that we looked up to. You know, we didn't care about fashion. We cared about the way they looked, or I cared about like Madonna, for instance. I think Madonna looked so good back then. She was so cool, things like that.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? She is everything to me. You know how many fights I have with my friends about who's better, Madonna or Janet? And I was like, Madonna, Madonna, Madonna.
Are they yelling?
I'm like, yes. Judith's here also, and she has to come say hi.
Of course she is. First of all, I love Madonna so much too, and she's another one. She does not get the credit for what she did in the '80s. You know, like she's like people don't think she's an old, older woman. I love her. Period. I think she's amazing, and she has done so much for many things. And her style is like what had been ahead for always ahead. Her whole thing, So I love her.
Always ahead, always modern, always fresh.
I had a dream that I was helping Madonna go through her closet and get rid of like certain clothes. That was a good dream.
Right.
Keep this, get rid of that.
That's a really good dream. I actually worked with Madonna and Britney and Me Against the Music. And
oh, really?
And then Madonna summons me to her trailer.
Okay, I'm listening.
Damon, I have a question.
First of all,
how long ago was that dream? The Madonna dream. When did you have it?
I don't know, but this is a one-on-one interview, not a threesome, so beat it.
Well, cheers, darling. Love the outfit.
Love you too. Beat it.
So, it was Madonna and the Britney video, Me Against the Music, and
who directed it?
It was Paul Hunter.
Okay, yeah.
So Madonna had this idea. Paul Hunter wanted the dancers in one way. So Madonna wanted the dancers one way, so I dressed Paul Hunter wanted club kids, rock and roll. Madonna wanted like dancer with tails and black shirts, and So I gave the director what he wants, what you usually do. So Madonna summons me to her her trailer. So everyone's on set like, oh my God, Madonna wants to talk to you in her trailer. So I went, Madonna is like, I'm obsessed. I was like, she was like, when I met with Britney, Britney and I decided, that she was British at this time, that we wanted the dancers dressed this way. Would you be able to change it? And I was like, sure, Madonna, I'll change it. Yes.
Anything. You're like, yes, absolutely, right.
Nothing ever changed. We went on shooting because Paul Hunter was like, we don't have time to change dancers. We don't have the budget to do it. Yeah.
And Madonna was cool with that?
But she scolded me and went on. I was so happy about it. I was not mad at all. I was just happy to meet her.
I worked a party for her once. She'd be my dream client to work, really with her. I worked a party for her once, and I just remember she looks you in the eye a lot. She's trying to feel your energy. She looks you right in the eye because she wants to feel your energy, which I liked about her. And I'm from Detroit, so is she. To this day, she still has a little bit of that Detroit girl in it. I see it often. Even her voice changes a little bit. She has that Detroit thing still to this day. She's never going to lose it.
Yeah,
English accent, whatever. Yeah.
I love
Okay, so
go ahead.
wait, finish. What are you saying?
I love Madonna because she's always rep for our community, you know, from day one.
Yep. Okay, so I want to talk about your line. You have a line called Diplomacy, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
your line, you know, I love your line very much. You've shown it to me. I looked at your Instagram today. It's really interesting because I'm not like, I dress like this. You know, I'm not a huge fan of like whatever, is it like, it's like streetwear. What do you call it? What do you categorize it as?
It's pretty much streetwear. We're basically
Yeah, so,
streetwear is
but
traveling
it's street,
civility. Go ahead.
it's streetwear that I love and I really like. I'm not just saying it because I'm talking to you. It's really, really well done. I love it. Tell us about your line and, you know, how long it's been in existence. Tell us about that.
The line is called Diplomacy. I'm the creative director. It's going on my three and a half year of me being the creative director of Diplomacy. And pretty much the collection really represents what's going on in the world today. It's inspired by the street. It's inspired by who I am and where I came from. And it's rooted in the streets, and it's rooted in freshness and just cool and just being cool, pretty much.
Well, first of all, where did you get the inspiration for the name?
I was brought on to be the creative director. Jeff Fagan, who's a friend of mine. I was actually hanging out with him in the Hamptons over the last 2 days. Brought me on along with Marvin Brittle, who's our brand architect, and Saria Baez, who helps pull the whole team together. Yeah.
But the line to me is like you. You have a very, like, you're stylish, but you also have great taste. And a lot of people, you know, a lot of people are stylish. You have great taste, and the line to me is very tasteful. You mean it's extremely tasteful, I think so.
Yeah, pretty much. The pieces. First of all, I love clothes, but I also love my clothes to transition into from day to night. And I also, I'm a collector like you're a collector. So when I design something, I don't want it just to be of the moment. I want to be something that you could actually live with. You know, that transcend time, pretty much.
Yep,
I love for my clothing to transcend time. That's
a great philosophy. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about diversity in fashion, obviously, you know. So, you know, there's a lot going on with diversity at the moment. And do you feel that it's changing, or how do you feel about diversity right now in fashion 2020 August?
I pretty much feel at this moment that we have the platform to make a statement and to definitely make a mark. There's a lot of changes that need to be made. I'm hopeful for the future, but I'm still pretty much on the fence because just placing people and making them certain things, but not really hiring people from the inception. You know, I have no respect for it. It's like we're okay. Our culture is so okay for you guys to be inspired by, you know, and to draw from. Yeah, well, hire us to do the job, hire us to design it, and hire us to do the marketing for it, and put our faces, you know, where it is. It's like go ahead.
Part of the major problem that I think, you know, one of my personal issues is the reason all these things keep happening with these big brands of like doing these racist things is because there's no black people working there. That to be like, this is not okay. You mean?
None. It's pretty much. I just looked at the Stallion Spring Summer collection and I was like, damn. I remember when Puffy showed his first collection, he did like crystal jeans. You know, I looked at the Stallion collection just the other day and it was like crystal sweatpants and oversized anoraks. I was like, this is like an urban collection, you know what I mean? That at the time you didn't like it, but now it's okay to draw from, you know?
Yeah, Puffy's fashion shows were the bomb. They were amazing, right?
Legendary.
The best. They were the best shows, honestly. It was only a couple they were like about 2 or 3 years or something. And they were like, they were like the number one thing I like to do that year. Okay. Also, and then are you on any diversity councils right now?
I am not. But you're not, and
you definitely should be.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you definitely should be. But my thing is, and you know, those. I mean, I'm like you. I'm a little on the fence. Of course, I am hopeful, but the diversity councils, they're only doing it because they have to do it. Do you see what I'm saying? They didn't necessarily want to. They only do it because they're being forced to do it. I feel in a lot of ways. Do you, or how do you feel about that?
I feel that way. I just feel like even for our own community, and I've always done this from the inception of. I always brought everybody along with me, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us didn't know we would end up in fashion, you know, but here we are, you know. And I think it's important that each one teach one, you know, and pretty much show the way, like I've done with Atiba, Roger, and everyone else, you know. I always felt together we were better.
Who are your top 3 designers of all time?
Of course, Jean-Paul Gaultier. I love Azadina Alaya. I love Claude Montana, and God bless the dead, I love Chanel. And John Galliano, of course.
Well, first of all, Claude Montana, that's a good one. I kind of forget about him. He's amazing. People sleep about him now, you know?
Yeah. Claude Montana was a genius. So fresh.
I agree. Love it. And who are some designers, could be 3 or however, that you like right now? You know, like the Kirby's of the world, or who do you like right now?
Oh, of course, I love Kirby. I love what he does. I love the storytelling that he does. There's this, the designers of Roach designs this line called Bottr, B-O-T-T-R. It's called Caribbean Couture. It is so fresh. It is so new. And who else do I love right now? I always love Chanel, of course. You know, I always love Chanel. And
Chanel?
Yeah.
I went to the Chanel show like in March, and it was the first collection without Carl, if I remember it correctly, and it was different. It was definitely younger. It was very different. You mean?
Yeah. I love Carl, and you go with Janelle, of course. I knew this. Yeah.
And then, so what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for family, and I'm grateful for friends who are honest with me. You know, and I'm grateful that that God loves me and He protects me, and I'm grateful to give praise and to give thanks. You know,
amazing.
And I'm also grateful to give back.
Great,
Yeah.
beautiful. You're very humble. It's very endearing. It's nice to experience your humility.
Well, thank you. It's not about me, but it's about a community. You know, it took a village to raise me, and whatever I can do to give back, it's important.
That's great. Yeah. Jonathan Mannion's on here giving us the fire emoji, by the way.
That's my guy right there.
Shout out, Jonathan. We love you. Who are 4 people you would have to dinner, dead or alive?
Oh, dead or alive? Oh my God. Of course, I would have my mother, my father. You know, they're no longer here. But of course, I'll have Jonathan Mannion. I don't go anywhere without Judith, because you know, that's my girl.
This is a boring list. Judith, I'm like...
What? She's like my beard, you know.
I was his beard once upon a time, so whatever.
Judith cut it out to 1 and 2 interview. And I would love to go to dinner with Madonna, you know.
Me too. I want to come to that dinner.
Yeah.
And then, how can we support you? You know, none of us are really working right now, hence my Cash App and the thing. But like, you know, how can we support you right now? What are ways that we can support you? Whether it be, you know, your brand or you, or you know.
I mean, shop diplomacy at Diplomacy Worldwide. But what also is important to me, I'm a member of the First Corinthians Baptist Church. And there's a food bank that gives back to the people in the neighborhood, and that's most important to me, or any other food bank, because people are really having a hard time and starving. And so it's important to find an organization that you can give back, whether give your time or money to support people, you know, who are in need.
It's great.
Yeah.
If you want to send me the information, I'll post it in my Instagram stories, how to donate to the First Corinthians Food Bank if you want.
I will do that. I'll send that to you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like, no rush. I'll do it whenever you send it. So.
Yeah.
Okay, now I have one more question. Can your sidekick please enter the building? Judith Aird, we're ready for you.
Judith, we're ready for you. Come on.
Really?
Judith, get over here.
Oh.
The sidekick.
So over it.
Can your beard please come in?
I'm so over you.
No, you're not.
Eric Archibald's beard, Judith Aird, everybody.
And I was also Damon's beard once upon a time.
You were never my beard, first of all, ever. So, because I'm never going to go there.
No,
so, Judith, what do you think of my outfit?
Let him talk. Go ahead, Damon.
Okay, go on, Damon, because you love.
What do you think of my outfit, Jude?
It's fabulous.
Oh
Damon.
my God, coming to America. Yes, look what I'm wearing for you.
I can't see what. Oh, it looks cute. I dressed up for Eric. I didn't know that you were going to be here.
Can you see it?
Yeah, love it.
I'm back in LA on Monday. We have to get together.
Great, yes, please, for sure. So just so you guys know, we have like 5 minutes left. Judith is an old friend of mine as well. She's a legendary Chanel girl. Her style is impeccable. She has one of the best styles of anyone I've ever met in my whole life. She gets on my last nerve sometimes, but her style is always on point. She's an amazing, just really New York girl to me. Legs for days, beautiful inside and out. But to me, her style, nobody has style like you, Judith. I've told you that many times. You know that.
Thank you, Damon.
She knows.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, I know. No, her style, like she's the kind of person that can put on literally anything and it looks good, and I love that about you.
Oh, merci, Damon. I miss you.
And to be honest, you remind me of Harlem. You are such a Harlem soul. You know, you have a Harlem soul about you.
Remember when you would come to my apartment and you're like, I want to move here, and then eventually we were like east side, west side neighbors. So yeah.
Harlem felt like home the minute I went there. It felt.
I know. It was like where you belonged, like you were
True.
ready to move here, and like there you.
And then I still got the Harlem gems around that time. There's all those like where Dapper Dan's is now. There's all those like weird vintage stores right there, and we got all those amazing gems back in like the early 2000s. There was amazing, and I always said this too. I started going to 125th as soon as I moved to New York. 125th has always been the best fashion show in New York City. 125th always.
I know. I remember that mustard suit that you have, Alexander McQueen.
I still have it.
I always joke about it, saying that like it reminded me of a suit from 125th Street, like from one of those men's store. Yeah. So yeah, you're so right about that.
Judith, how are you doing? How's everything with you?
I'm well, but I miss you, and you look fantastic, and I love this interview. Like, I've known Eric for so long because of you, Damon.
Yes.
And Atiba.
Yes.
And what's funny was when you guys were talking, that one epic night where Eric and I totally connected was when I was wearing my new long van. She was, and we were on the what was it, Central Park West?
Park West. She was in another cab.
I was in the cab with you, Damon.
And
yes.
Yeah, and we kept saying, "Judith, put your shoes outside the door."
And I put my shoes outside the door, and it was just like.
And Atiba and I was just like, "Oh!"
It was a gag moment, but anyway.
Judith and her boys, right?
Yes.
It's so funny. Yeah, Jude, I miss Harlem. It's funny because I miss Harlem right now. I miss the soul of Harlem. It's really interesting.
Well,
definitely miss it.
We miss you too, Damon, truly.
This is my 75th episode, Judith.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, boo.
You're doing a fantastic job.
No,
I'm gonna do.
You're like really like, you're really I stand here on the sideline and I might get on your nerves, but whatever. I do admire you so much. And your tenacity, you're always going for it, and that's something that I would, you're just so amazing, and you're so charismatic too. Like, hashtag I love you.
And I want it to continue after the pandemic.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's so good and so refreshing.
Well, no, my goal is I want to get a real show by the end of the year, and I want to interview people.
Well, you will.
My goal.
You will.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I will. You're right. But I want to interview people that are cool. I don't want it to be like I don't want to interview like Hailey Bieber or something. No offense to her. I want to interview people that I think are important to culture. That's the best way to say it. So I want to keep it really consistently what it is, but I want it on a larger platform, so a real show. So.
Well, you'll get it.
No, you're such a natural, Damon. Like, you have the gift of gab. You always have the right questions to ask. Like, you're really amazing. So
thank you.
I was over here listening, and I really enjoyed it. So continue.
Thank you. I appreciate that from the queen of the queens of style. I was talking about Judith, like the queens of style. Okay, Eric, before I forget.
Bye, Damon.
Bye, Judith. Love you. Before we end, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our girl Jihad. So you and I both have a mutual love for Jennifer Hudson. She's such a special lady, as you know. That's like, her heart is so warm. She's so amazing. You were working with her a lot longer than when I came around, right? You've been there for how long?
I think I worked for Jihad for like 6-7 years. And
I came around and we instantly clicked. We got along great, and it was like, you know, she's just a special person. And I say about her all the time, what you see is what you get. She's exactly what she says she is. We're a lot of, you know,
she's really about the work, you know.
Oh yeah.
She's really about the work and the family. You know, she celebrates everyone who's with her. And her and I just spoke the other day, and you know, I can't wait for the movie. You know?
Yeah, me too. Well, I love her because she loves to sing. She's all the time. She's like, I don't want to host a party. She's like, I'm a singer. I want to sing, and she does want to sing.
Yeah.
Every opportunity she gets to sing, she does sing, which I love about her. You can still grab any microphone and start singing because she genuinely loves it. She loves to sing. So.
That's J Hud. That's J Hud. Yeah.
That's our girl, and she's such a sweetheart. We both love her. Okay, so anything you want to say before we wrap it up, or?
I just want to say thank you. And keep on doing what you're doing, and I root for you every time. I root for our community, and we all need to root for each other.
Yep, of course.
Yeah, yes.
Well, I want to thank you, particularly for what you have done for culture. Like, you know, with the Missy Elliott story on, which I never knew that story. You know, I think that the whole point of this show is to celebrate people that have been very important to culture, and maybe some of them don't get celebrated. So you have been extremely instrumental to culture. You've been consistent. And you know, like I said, you have a lot of people are stylists. You've always had impeccable taste, which you've stayed the whole time. And I just want to celebrate you for what you have done for these artists for 2 decades or more. You mean, and all the hard work that you put in. You mean, so you deserve to feel great about that. I want you to feel great about that.
Well, I thank you, and thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. I was excited about this tonight.
Good. I'm glad. Awesome. All right, well, thank you. Episode 75. We have a great week next week, so thank you.
I'll call you when I get in. Okay.
Okay, for sure. We'll hang for sure. Bye.